You're now listening to the Something Good Podcast Network. Please press any key to continue.
I know you. I know that's what you're going to go after.
It's a very elaborate story.
It is. But on that note, welcome to this week's edition of The Couch Brotato. I'm Alex
Morrison.
And this week we're going to be talking about the Matt Groening universe, Simpsons and Futurama.
You guys like to cry?
Simpsons doesn't make you cry too much. They've got a couple little tear jerker moments.
If you go back and watch when he meets God, it's fucking sad as shit.
I think
God with all fingers, by the way.
I don't know. Without getting too deep into it, because I'm sure it'll be a segment on this one. I still think the "Do It for Her."
That is one of the rougher episodes.
Yeah, I like that one still.
But yeah, going into the series, it came out in 1989.
Yep, that's right.
I'm exactly the same years old as The Simpsons.
No shit.
Yep.
Now, are you going from a Tracy Ullman era or Fox debut?
Fox debut of 1989.
Okay. But yeah, it originally started as a short on the Tracy Ullman show of all things.
Yeah, on HBO.
Yeah. And so when you watch those early, have you seen those Tracy Ullman shorts? Yeah. They are weird.
They are. They're it's just concept stuff. It's all pilot stuff that it kind of reminds you of what when you see like Seth MacFarlane when he was trying to pitch Family Guy before it was Family Guy, it was just the guy and his dog.
Yeah.
It had like a Disney quality to it with the big eyes and like the way it moved.
Yeah, that is very odd. But Brian basically has the same voice.
Yeah, and it's all the same. It's all just pilot stuff. We actually, Fox is actually known for this. So they introduce a lot of shows that have a lot of spin-off stuff. So one of the things they created was there was a spin-off of The Cosby Show, Different World, which became syndicated on Fox. That's something I grew up watching, or almost like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Family Matters. Family Matters is actually a spin-off of another show. Mm-hmm. And Key and Peele wouldn't be here if they didn't star in Mad TV and all the skits therein. So it's really cool to see that this is not really a spin-off. Like The Simpsons is a spin-off, but Futurama being an original idea, but still the same artwork. A lot of great voice actors are carried over. And the animation, I just love the animation. Do you know the reason why they're yellow?
I believe that was just to contrast against the color of the walls or something like that.
So the reason they are yellow is they're not the same yellow as they were in the Tracy Ullman show. Right. It's a darker, like mustard yellow. Mm-hmm. They're bright yellow because yellow catches the eye and causes anxiousness when they were channel surfing.
Okay. Well, the anxiousness I don't think really played too much of a part of it. But yeah, yellow is a striking color.
It's a striking color, but it also creates anxiousness when you see too much of it.
Right.
A good reminder of this is I lived in a house that was yellow inside, and it was piss yellow, like passed a drug test piss yellow, and I was just like, this is very uncomfortable. My room was blue.
And I had a blue room too.
And the living room was yellow. Ooh. With the kitchen being yellow. And you walk in, it's just like everything seems a lot smaller than it is. And then you got people over, you're just like, they're going to fucking rob me. But no, they realized very early on that because of, what is it called? The people remember the little boxes people would put to their TVs and record what they watched.
Nielsen boxes.
Yes, I was part of that.
Yeah.
And so they noticed very quickly that anything that was bright yellow would stop someone from surfing just long enough to see what the fuck it's looking at.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of commercials, especially for cereals, are like flashy yellow and stuff like that back then.
Well, now yellow also elicits hunger, which is why you see a lot of fast food logos that have yellow hues to it.
Yeah.
Taco Bell, McDonald's, Burger King, all of them have a yellow. Yeah, all of them have a yellow hinge to it.
Shout out to Burger King for giving me the worst fast food meal I've ever had last night.
Oh, god damn it.
It was awful. It had nothing on it.
What do you mean they had nothing on it?
I ordered a Whopper, and there was nothing on it. It was just meat and bread.
Wow. Did you report it?
No, I don't care.
No, you got to report that shit, and then you get a free meal.
I don't give a shit.
You give enough of shit to talk about on a podcast.
It's just a podcast. I'm the executive producer. I can say what I want. I can say what the fuck I want. That's my Diet Coke. I made that.
Yes, you did.
I'm Dick Wolf.
But I, at an early age, wound up kind of digging on Simpsons, but it wasn't until I got older that I really appreciate Futurama.
Yeah. I watched the first episode of Futurama the day it came out, the night it came out. I was at my grandpa's house. He was a big X-Files guy, so obviously we're watching Fox.
Well, Fox was the shit in the 90s and early 2000s.
And I watched it live for the first time because there was barely any fucking, from what I remember, advertisements really.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of faith in Futurama.
And I watched it. I can't say I loved it. It was just a show that was on. And because I gravitated to Family Guy when it came on after Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But no, like I went back and I started watching it again after the first season was completed, because after season 2 finished, they started syndicating it a little bit more, just to make filler stuff, because a lot of the Fox at that time were throwing everything against the wall, kind of seeing what sticks. And so you would see one episode of a show and it's just like, oh, this ain't coming back.
Yeah, no.
Why? Because people fucking hate it. That's why. And plus, all the other shows on television at that time were just kicking ass. NBC had stopped doing their Thursday night primetime lineup and stuff. So like Frasier was ending, Friends was on a hiatus. There was just all this other stuff that was kind of collapsing in on itself from NBC and ABC and CBS. And Fox was just like, you guys like cops? We got a show about cops.
You like Bernie Mac? We got Bernie Mac.
Fucking love Bernie Mac.
Oh yeah, he was the shit.
Another bright yellow fucking intro. Yeah. But like the Bernie Mac, Malcolm in the Middle. These are all irreverent comedies where parents exist. We talked about that in another episode where it's a full family.
Holy shit.
There's no dead fucking family.
Maybe a nuclear family, but it's like
oh hell, fucking Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was the extended family. And it works out great, but. Yeah, so like in the animated series, like nothing was The Simpsons. Yeah. Nothing like came close. And then South Park shows up. Mm-hmm. And South Park is another adult animated show. And even again, the choppy waters of the first 4 seasons are kind of rough to watch, but it gets better and it gets better and it gets fucking better. And I think The Simpsons kind of allowed that, kind of gave it the gateway opening. Like,
oh, absolutely. I mean, Matt and Trey have given props to Simpsons so many times.
They did the whole episode. The Simpsons did it, which is actually a joke on what the Simpsons were doing with the Honeymooners and old sitcoms like I Love Lucy, because a lot of those things that happened in the Simpsons happened in the Honeymooners. And like, hey, Homer lost his job, you got to find a job that day. And it's like happened in the Honeymooners. It never got resolved really in the long continuity, but in The Simpsons, some of the continuity sticks and some of it doesn't.
It does, yeah.
And it kind of built on a structure on which, King of the Hill was able to show up. We see a couple more animated shows across the board. Family Guy especially. Going back to South Park again. South Park, even makes fun of The Simpsons, but it's still enough to be like, oh, Bart Simpson's such a bad kid. In the early days, Bart Simpson's a bad kid. Compared to Eric Cartman, he ain't shit.
No.
Compared to Eric Cartman, even Bart's like, you need to burn in hell. You are going to hell.
Well, even Bart was off put by Stewie when they did the Family Guy crossover. Yeah. Because Stewie was trying to teach him how to do prank calls. And he did like, one of the, my balls itch or, I'm gay kind of thing. Yeah. And then Stewie calls up and he's just like, I hope you fucking die in a fire, and hangs up the phone. He's like, how was that? He's like, whoa, dude, that was like too much. Yeah. So even Stewie is too much for Bart.
And what's cool is around this time, there was another show that was garnering the same fucking problems. Like let's just talk about the controversy. When it first started, seasons 1 and 2.
Which show?
Simpsons.
Okay, yeah.
Simpsons, going to Simpsons. There was a lot of controversy because it's like, oh, there's an animated show. It's got terrible values, and it's just like
the values of the American family are in trouble because of The Simpsons.
Yeah, and I'm just like, at the same time, Married with Children was being played next.
Yeah.
And that's a show I grew up watching too.
I did too. And I'm sitting here going, I'm like, there's just an animated Married with Children.
And there's the same show.
Yeah.
It's about a dad who the dad is the only person that works. Has 2 to 3 kids, 2.5 children, which is actually, the census. a wife, a house, and they all support each other on that single income, and they're struggling. They're fine, but they're struggling.
Yeah.
And they got a secondhand dog. They got a secondhand cat, you know. And watching those growing up, I have a different opinion of them now, but I'm just like, what the fuck are you complaining about? Like watching like Married with Children.
Yeah.
Oh, the dad. Shut the fuck up. You got a wife that wants to fuck all the time, and you have a job. You piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Your kids are okay. Like, they're not serial killers. Like,
Yet.
yeah. But, like, they're fine. Like, they're legitimately fine people. And your neighbors are the ones that are the assholes because they're childless. And Married with Children is the best outcome of a sitcom family.
Yeah.
You know, even Family Matters is like, fuck, the dad might die because he's a cop. Like,
but then you got Homer. That's just a early on, because we can also kind of get into this, the death of Homer Simpson, as a million YouTubers like putting it. It's like, you know, at least early on, Homer was just a buffoon that still tried hard, and at the end of the day just wanted to deliver for his family.
And this kind of goes into the era of kind of like the blue collar family sitcom. You had, you know, people could say all they want about like Married with Children and other shows like that, but this is like Black Sabbath to metal almost. It's like this is the blue collar family that they have something. It's not much. By today's standards, they're fucking millionaires.
Oh yeah,
but like
they're middle class right now.
They're fine, which doesn't exist. That's a myth.
Yeah,
like the clitoris.
That explains a lot.
I can find the man in the boat. But I'm just picturing like a snake's mouth open. I don't know. But
venom.
But there's the whole thing of having enough and having too much, and we're coming out of the 80s with this. So think about the other shows that came along after this: Married with Children, Roseanne, Grace Under Fire. You know, these are shows about blue collar families. Home Improvement, technically, you know, he's a little bit higher up, but he lived in Detroit.
He has a TV show with hot
but
rods.
He also lived in Detroit, Michigan, which is a very expensive place to live in the time of the early 90s.
Showing how much more affluent he was.
Yeah, but like, he built hot rods on the side and sold them. That's how he had so much fucking money.
Yeah, true.
Because his wife didn't really do anything. She was like a clinical psychologist, if I remember right, later on.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, his job was just to walk around the house going, and
it was fucking hilarious.
It was. I really enjoyed it.
I would have just loved to fuck a show about Home Improvement. Just Home Improvement. The
actual
show within the show. Yeah. Hey, let's fuck some shit up. But like, even with, you know, Bart Simpson, you know, being the delinquent older son, and he's not even like 10.
No.
Yeah, like Lisa being a kind of a born genius, you know, very talented, and just having the mischievousness of having a baby.
Yeah,
which we see all of this play out in the opening intro, which they added like in season 3 and 4.
Yeah,
because we get like a cut version of it, and then they created the whole like timeline of him getting off work and everything. He had remember his friend, like even going down to like the littlest aspect. He went to a bar.
Yep.
He had 3 friends, and his best friend, and then there was Mo.
Yep.
They expanded those characters. We get back around. We find out that, hey, why is this Homer's best friend? And they went to school together.
Yep.
We find out Grandpa Simpson is kind of
Lenny. What was it? Lenny. Carl.
Lenny and Carl are
and then drunk dude.
Yeah.
Barney.
And then also,
I was having to pull it out.
And then Mo.
Yeah, and Mo,
a homicidal masochist.
One of my favorite jokes. This is one of those just like fast jokes that have always stuck. That have always stuck with me. Was I think it was some episode where Mo leaves the bar and like Homer takes over.
Yep.
And they had a fight on the TV, and it was like a black and white fight, and they were like, hey, Homer, now that you run this place, why don't you get a better TV? He goes, oh, I actually found it was a color TV all along, and wipes the dust away from it, and it's a color TV. For some reason, that stuck with me. And just being the funniest thing.
And it was cool because it kind of added the aspect of a show that recently got, you know, let go was Cheers. You know, a show within a show. You know, it was really cool because with animated shows, you can do so many different fucking areas, scenery and stuff. And where they live is
Springfield blank.
It could be Illinois, Texas, Oklahoma, wherever. We do find out that Springfield is on the border of Maine and California.
Yeah.
In a super state. That's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I was gonna say they did a big gag of it in the Simpsons movie, where Flanders had Bart up on like a mountaintop. He's like, you can see the 4 points of Springfield, Nevada, Nebraska, California, Maine.
God damn.
It's just like, oh, so you're nowhere.
Yeah. It's a dreamscape from hell.
Yes.
And like even with like down to the kids, Bart's best friend is
Milhouse.
Milhouse is the only character. He's like Skeeter from Doug.
Yes.
He's off-colored. He doesn't match the rest of the scenery. The blue hair. There's only a handful of characters, the mom and dad, and the cop.
Yep.
And that's it. No other blue hairs in the series.
Well, and Marge.
But
still, none of the other kids have blue as part of their color palette. So Milhouse.
Yeah. And another thing about this, what I liked about The Simpsons, they introduced the Treehouse of Horror.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
And this is where we get the controversy. So they did season 1 with the Treehouse of Horror. Now, the Treehouse of Horror is fucking hilarious. It's a play on like old school here. I could probably can't
Creepshow.
Yeah, it's Creepshow, but I can't tell you what exactly happened in the original one. But it was enough.
Yeah.
To piss off the president's wife of the time, Barbara Bush.
Oh lordy.
She had wrote, or she didn't write, but she had interviewed a People magazine and talked about how basically it's the dumbest thing she's ever seen on television, and it's trash TV. Which at that time, you got the gall to call that fucking trash TV, bitch.
And the thing was, I remember even President Bush even mentioning it in like a press release, being like, do we want the American family to be the Simpsons or stuff like that? Like he was like really kind of trying to down on it.
And like even like in the early seasons, what was so bad about them?
Well, I remember distinctly, Mom had a love-hate with Simpsons. So throughout my life, we kind of went through peaks and valleys of religious-isms.
Yeah.
It's like I was always raised faith-based, but it's like throughout the years we
did you burn Harry Potter books?
Fuck no. Mom was never like that. But there would be times in which, going to church would be a little bit more important than other times in our lives, and it kind of went back and forth.
Fair weather Christians.
Yeah. The faith was always there. It's just the church wasn't.
It just reminds me of American Dad. All these fair weather Christians.
The faith was always there. The church wasn't. But either way, one of the times that we were really going through it, we were living in Gaffney, South Carolina, and Spartanburg was only maybe 30 minutes from Gaffney. So we'd take a lot of trips out to Spartanburg to the mall out there and the big, stores and have shopping days. They had just opened up some new like Bible store. Remember those popping up everywhere in the mid 2000s? Those like super Christian bookstores. They were like the size of a goddamn Walmart, and you'd walk in. It was just like trendy Christian shit as far as the eye could for the soul. See.
Chicken soup for teenagers.
Oh my God! Like there was like Harley Davidson looking T-shirts that had like Bible verses on them and shit like that. Like it was trendy as hell.
Basically had a giant phrase that says "kick my ass."
Yeah, basically
kick my teeth in.
Or the suit. It's like the Hank Hill or the King of the Hill episode of like the rock star Christian things. It's like you're not making Christianity cooler. You're making rock suck more. Yeah. There was one. It was like 3 railroad ties. Not ties.
Spikes.
Nails. Yeah, spikes.
Ties.
Okay, I thought ties. Anyway. Pointing down, and it said God was about body piercing.
That's right, bro. Jesus was my homeboy.
That's not what the song says.
Yeah.
But I remember in the back of that store, they had like, the big book section. There was like this big hardback cover book about how horrible the Simpsons were and that they were a slight against Christians everywhere. Look at the way they treat Ned Flanders, everything else. Like that was the big sticking point, is how goofy they made Ned, so he was a constant jab to Christianity.
You know what's hilarious? All these people who go after like Family Guy and stuff like that for the Simpsons, they've never watched it. they only watched like a snippet of it, and it's just like, that's enough. They probably ignored the fact that, hey, Homer and Marge and the kids went to church every fucking Sunday.
Yeah.
Along with Flanders. So did the kids of South Park. They're all Catholics. That's the thing about it. These are all just Catholic assholes. As far as the eye can see. And I love Ned Flanders.
Yeah.
Ned Flanders.
Hidely ho, neighboroonie.
Ned Flanders is the ultimate good.
To a fault.
But if you were to do like a black and white aspect of, who's in the gray zone, who's in the perfect white, and who's in the black, you have Mr. Smithers, which is the black. The ultimate corporatocracy, evil. He does whatever he can. He blocks the sun.
Actually, would he be the worst, or would Sideshow Bob?
Sideshow Bob is just a product of his environment.
Right.
Smithers has always been evil.
Yeah,
excellent. Another part of this is, remember when the Wii came out?
Yeah.
They did an episode with the Wii, and he's playing the Wii, and he's playing a World War II game, and he's shooting all these Nazis. His exact words were, "That's not how I remember World War II." Okay? So, yeah, he's in the ultimate fucking black.
Okay, got it.
And Hidely Ho fucking neighbor over here is the ultimate good.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with, like, Homer Simpson. He's dumb. But
he got worse throughout. I don't know. He got a little bad throughout the years. Like they kind of ruined his character.
It's experimentation.
Yeah.
You remember the episode, like one of those very special episodes, we watch with sitcoms, they did it with an animated series too.
Oh yeah.
There was one. It's very heart wrenching, and it kind of goes to the thing is, what's the worst thing a parent can do to you, other than physically attacking you?
Yeah.
Is I thought better of you. That kind of hits hard a little bit. There's a whole episode about that where Bart steals a goddamn video game, and Marge just lays into him verbally, and it's not verbal abuse. It's, what do you have what's in your jacket at the end of the episode? She thinks he stole again.
Yeah,
and that's a hard hitting fucking episode when I was a kid, and I was just like, he didn't steal.
Yeah,
he learned his lesson, but you're still projecting that he's a bad kid because everyone else in the town told you so.
Yep. And
that's a great analogy for the show. Everybody thinks he's bad. Everybody, because they've only seen him do this one thing. And when they do the good things, they turn a fucking blind eye. And I think that whole fucking part of America can go suck a dick. I'm serious. That's what it's all about. Even Ned Flanders, who's good to a fault, never looks at Homer as a lesser.
Always wants to help him in some way.
Always wants to help him. Hey, he's like, hey man, I kind of read my shears back. Fuck you, Flanders. And it's just like,
okie dokie.
Okay, I'll come back tomorrow. and what we think is kind of fucked up is nothing really bad happens to the Simpsons on a storytelling line. They're all together at the end. They always come home. Hell, even the show begins with them sitting on a couch together as a family. Name another fucking show that does that, where they're all together. Family Guy, they do a singing, dancing number because Seth MacFarlane is a fucking maniac.
That, and it's supposed to be a callback to God, those were all the days. All in the Family. So that can't even be a true thing.
But you know what I'm saying? Like it's about family. It's about a family. They have character-centric episodes. Bart Simpson, Sideshow Bob, Lisa and Michael Jackson.
Lisa and Paul McCartney.
Yeah, it's aspects of their lives you're going to get with a sitcom series. A lot of the times it's the mom and dad, but it's going to be the kids someday. They even had a whole episode where I think everybody remembers it, is where Smithers is killed.
Yeah.
And who did it? Maggie.
Maggie, yeah.
She did it. And it's just
like, call her Lisa.
And it's like, that's a wild fucking thing, right? That's so fucking crazy.
The baby killed.
Yeah, it was
Smithers.
an accident.
Or Burns, rather. Yeah, Burns.
And, Mr. Burns, being the ultimate evil, is also, he fought with Grandpa Simpson in the war. They did what's called a taunting bet, which is, was it Hellfish or some shit like that?
Oh, God, yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, we're the Hellfish Club. And, all their buddies had died, and then it became an episode of Who's Last One Standing, Burns or fucking Grandpa Simpson, and it's fucking hilarious.
Yep.
They had a joke about every political thing leaning just like South Park.
Yep.
Except on their end, on South Park's end, there was the last speech at the end. I think I've learned today, which they kind of got away from, which is kind of good. But Simpsons did the same thing.
Yeah, in a way.
Like the brothel episode. You remember the brothel episodes? Very early on.
No, I don't think I.
So there was a brothel in their fucking town, and Bart doesn't realize it's a brothel. He's doing community service,
Right.
And the madam who runs it, she's like, "Well, hey, little boy, do you want a job?" And he's working the front desk of a brothel. He's like welcoming people, taking their coats, taking their hats.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the great meme of Grandpa Simpson going in and walking the fuck out. That's a brothel. He works at a whorehouse.
Yeah.
And they're just like, this place is the most terrible fucking thing. How dare you have a house of sin? The priest is out there with burning pitchforks and shit. And she comes out there and does a song and dance number. She's like, everyone comes in here and fucks somebody. Even you. And like points at him. She's like, you put $1 in the box, don't you? For what? For what? To be happy? They do the same thing here. They put $1 in the box. And it's just like, get fucked. And it's just the whole story is about a brothel.
Yeah.
And how elaborate is that? Like, and like you go into that, and you're saying that's trash TV.
It's because they weren't that kind of stuff was never brought up though. It's trash TV because you're bringing it to the surface.
Yeah, fuck them.
And that was the big thing. But you know what? You even bring up a really good aspect to it is, you know, we brought up Millhouse. We brought up the bar patrons and Mo. You know, but then I started thinking about like the other kids in the class, like Ralph Wiggum.
Yeah.
You know, all of these side characters were fantastic. And I think that's one of the things that also led to the success of Simpsons, among many other things. But as a fan looking at it, I don't think I would have enjoyed the show as much if the core family was the only interesting aspect. But it's like I would watch an entire episode about Ralph Wiggum and Chief Wiggum. It's like I would watch an entire episode about that family because the police chief and Ralph are so funny.
The Valentine episode.
Yeah.
With, I choose you. That's the saddest fucking episode. Like, one of the saddest fucking things. Because Lisa's like going out of her way, and Ralph takes it wrong because Ralph ain't all there.
Yep.
Do you like? What would you say would be the one episode you know most of all? That's kind of hard because
that is.
Because like I know that like the Thief episode is a big one for me.
Right. Honestly, I feel like I kind of know each one about the same. But I've not watched The Simpsons in years. Like, even though it's now on Disney Plus, it's almost that intimidating thing of it's like, hi, here's 28 seasons.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little daunting to kind of go like, okay, well, where do I start? Because I know super early isn't as captivating. They kind of do a weird turn in the middle. Do I start on season 3? Do I start on 2? Never mind. And then you just go away from it. But I will say, one of the first episodes I really remember seeing, and it kind of capturing, and I know it was during peak Simpsons like season, Bart actually did something good at the very start of the episode. Like they lead in to them congratulating Bart. And one of the things they're going to do is like take him out to dinner. So they go out to dinner. They're enjoying this nice meal. Boy's actually behaving. It's a very nice family moment. And the waiter comes by, hands Homer the check. And he does this little like that. And it's okay. He reaches in his pocket, pulls out a credit card, puts it in, hands it to the guy. He disappears for like 2 seconds to come back. And he goes, sir, I'm sorry. Your card has been declined. He's like, oh, that's okay. I have another one right here. And boom, puts it in and disappears. Says, sir, that card's been declined too. And he's like, he's flipping through everything, looks at the family and says, run at the same time as like throwing the wallet at the guy, and they run out the door. And then she's like, Homer, we've done that 3 times this week. And he's like, I know, but the things that the job hadn't been going too well, yada, yada, yada. We have a lot of things to pay for. And Lisa just pipes up. She goes, yeah, getting this floorboard would be really nice. And it clips to the back and it's just completely rusted out. You just see the car. And at that moment, I went, this show is fucking hilarious because they crafted the perfect moment of, and then therefore, it's like, it's not the, and then this happens, and then this happens. It's Homer is out of money. Therefore, the car is also messed up. So because the car is messed up, therefore this happens. It's like they did that storytelling so well that even at a young age, I didn't understand that's what was happening. But they wrote me in so early on due to that tiny bit of storytelling.
And for an adult watching that show, That's a domino effect that's just bound to happen.
And that show, honestly, I can also very confidently say this. I probably wouldn't enjoy that show as much if one person hadn't have basically sat me down and went, come on, we're going to watch this together. His name was Jeff Young, RIP. And Jeff Young is actually one of the reasons why I actually wanted to start all this podcasting. Because if we had a show with Jeff Young and you talking about movies and history and shit like that, each episode would be 3 hours long and it would just be ridiculous. This man had a gift for gab, and
that's my goal at the end of the day, is be as long as possible.
And he loved The Simpsons. And anytime we were together, he's like, come here, little Al, we watching Simpsons. Because at that point, it was coming on like an hour blocks from like 5 and 6 in the afternoon. And I would just remember sitting there watching him. He's like, oh, I've already seen this one before. Hey, go get me a beer. I'm going to tell you about this one. I'm running there, grab a beer, bring it back. He's like, all right, yeah. So in this episode, Burns is going to be doing this and the other. That doesn't matter, though. The main plot's going to be happening a little later on. Now, a few episodes before this, though, this happened. Like, he has given me the rundown. So it's like, I got that nerdiness off of him watching the show, and all of a sudden it made it more special because he knew so much about it and I liked him, so I wanted to like learn about it so I could like relate with him even more on it. So
I remember so many episodes vividly because, I just watched the syndication on Fox. And,
same.
And one that was wild was the one where Bart sells his soul.
Oh man, yeah.
And he has those wild nightmares of being on a boat and he can't paddle. And you see all his other friends. You see Milhouse in his boat because that's the person he sold it to. Milhouse is riding high because he don't have to paddle because he's got Bart and Milhouse. And he has a crisis of conscience, which is actually a really cool way to aspect of, selling something that's not real and still biting you in the ass. It's kind of like a Twilight Zone episode. And I love that one. And going and there's so many I remember, like, when Flanders' wife died.
Oh God, I remember when that was new.
Remember how she died?
Fell back. No, she got hit by a baseball and fell backward. Was it baseball or football?
Homer shot her with a t-shirt gun and she
That's
died.
what it was. Yeah, so she fell backward off the bleachers and like cracked her head. That's the part I remember. I remember her getting hit and falling backward. And it was at a game. I just couldn't remember what the projectile was.
And that's how she died. And
the reason they did it was because of her voice actress dying.
And they did it again.
Yep.
Because in the series later on, and this is after I stopped watching it, Ned Flanders ended up marrying Mrs. Krabappel.
Yeah.
Mrs. Krabappel's character died.
Yeah.
And they killed her too. And I'm just like,
God damn Ned.
Poor Ned Flanders.
Yes.
But Ned has one flaw. Ned hates one thing. Do you remember what Ned hates? This is like a cool little like trivia kind of version of it.
I do remember there being a specific episode where like Ned went off the rails, being angry about something.
So he went off the rails on Homer because he killed his wife. But
I remember that one too.
It's when we see Flanders' parents. You remember what kind of people they were?
Amish? No, I forget on that.
Beatnik hippies. And he fucking hates them.
Yes, I remember now.
He hates beatniks.
Yes.
Fucking hippies.
Wasn't that the one thing that like he and Homer were able to like kind of agree on? And they kind of like, that's when they did bond for like that minute. He's like, holy hippies.
And there's so much history, even, being like 33, 34 years old. There's so much history built into the show.
Yeah.
Like, even like just on the facts I know about Ned Flanders. He's left-handed.
Yep.
Why do I know this? Because he had a left-handed store. He literally had a store for left-handed people, which I think is fascinating.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, though. Since you were watching it as it was kind of going on like that, well, not exactly because you said you were exactly the age of, but either way, you were catching on syndication. What did you think about the twist that Principal Skinner was not Skinner?
Okay, so this is actually a contention among Simpsons fans. So this is where the show dies. Well, not really dies. It's when
a lot of people consider it the moment Simpsons started disrespecting their audience.
Yes. So we find out Mr. Skinner had stole his name from a guy.
Stolen valor.
Yes, stolen valor. So, well, no, he was a veteran too.
Yeah, but it was still
he stole the name of a soldier who died.
Yeah.
And there's a whole like rabbit hole we can go down just on The Simpsons alone about that. But it changes the writing a little bit. It's a little bit more self-conscious. It starts making fun of itself a little bit too much, which is fine, but that is one of the most hated, if not the most hated fucking episode.
And that's why I wanted to bring it up. Is like I'd not really known much about it until maybe about 3-4 years ago when like one of those YouTube rundowns. So
just going through the episode, like Skinner has a crisis of conscience, and some stuff gets found out. And you realize there's a flashback of Skinner fighting in whatever war he's in.
Grabs the dog tag, looks at it, and holds it, and then shows them like showing up at people's houses, being like, "I survived," even though for some reason it seems like they would recognize that it's not.
Yeah. So another show does this called Mad Men, which is it's very elaborate. They actually showed in kind of detail how that happens a lot.
Yeah.
How you're able to. So just a quick little one line. When you joined the military back then, if you joined and you lived in bumfuck Pennsylvania, when you came back, they dropped you off in bumfuck Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So if you lie and just hop off the fucking train, you can say who the fuck you want to be.
Right.
That was the cool thing about it. And you can steal identities constantly.
That was the cool thing about it.
Yeah, that was the cool thing about back in the day, back when the government didn't give a shit, back where they were fucking like locking people up for all kinds of stupid shit, like reading too much or not reading enough. It's just like, that's fucking fantastic. What a time to be alive in 1945.
But Seymour Skinner.
He stole someone's identity, and in all intents and purposes, they fought in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Even though these people are timeless characters, and right now even Skinner, being a principal of a school, would have to fight in Afghanistan. Because they even change it. Like, there are parts of the show they change. It's like, oh yeah, I was in Nam. No, I was in Grenada. No, I was in Desert Storm. No, I fought in Afghanistan, Iraq. And it's just like, you gotta, the conflicts really need to change. Because I remember when they switched it to Grenada, I'm just like, what did you do in Grenada? Nobody did anything in Grenada. Even Heartbreak Ridge was like, they didn't do shit in Grenada to save college kids.
But I feel like that was such an interesting move for them to try and make, though, with the Skinner plot.
Yes. So it kind of came out of nowhere because around that time, Conan O'Brien had left. And like, there's a lot of famous people who were in the writing room at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Who even Harold Ramis at one point was there. And he did SNL, stuff like that. Hank Azaria, was still part of the writing part. And I will say, when we see characters outside of the Simpsons universe, like voice actors acting, they all play assholes.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. They play like a lot of fucking, like Yeardley Smith is the only one who's nice. She's Lisa.
Yeah.
But I just, it's a turn for the series, but it didn't quite ruin it.
Yeah.
What ruined it is keeping it going.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember that there was a good bit of time where it was just like, these aren't funny anymore, but the same thing happened to Family Guy. So honestly, like we both kind of discussed this, the best way to enjoy Family Guy is on those YouTube shorts. Those 20-second little bits of a cutaway they'll play. It's like, that's the best way to enjoy Family Guy.
Well,
and Simpsons kind of got the same way, where it wasn't like, you didn't even have like compilation episodes of all the side characters that had like the steamed ham portion in it. You weren't even getting good stuff like that. You were just getting weird pop culture references / celebrity guest appearances. Like, there was a whole episode where Homer just became addicted to their version of Farmville.
Yeah.
And that was like the crux of the whole episode.
Yeah. And another, but going like probably 4 seasons before that, they lived on a farm.
Yeah.
And grow tobacco-ridden tomatoes.
Oh, God, yes. I remember that one.
And, like, around that time, I was learning about, like, crossbreeding and stuff like that. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, you could make tobacco-ridden fucking tomatoes. Addictive nicotine tomatoes. Because remember, the goats were, like, losing their shit.
Yes.
And he irradiated. And it's got one of the best jokes. Because he's out there and nothing's growing. And Marge is like, I think you need to fertilize the whole field. And his line is, I'm just one man, Marge. And I'm just like, that's such a good joke. And that's the kind of writing I love. Like, that's like a perfect joke. You can't take anything away from it, and you can't add anything to make it funnier. Kind of like like that one joke Bill Burr talks about on the sign in front of the bar.
Yeah,
we like our beers like we like our violence. Domestic. Perfect goddamn joke. Fucking solid. And that was the cool thing about Matt Groening. He wrote solid stuff.
Oh yeah.
Even later on, there are some gems here and there. I haven't really kept up with The Simpsons, but the feel of The Simpsons is no different from a regular live action sitcom to me.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more forward about the violence. It's a little bit more crazier about some of the plot points. But at the end of the day, it's still a sitcom about a family.
And even the movie was really good. I enjoyed the movie a lot.
I was elected to lead, not to read. God damn it.
Both of us. That's the go-to line for that movie. Not fucking Spider Pig. No. Not any of that bullshit. I was elected to lead, not to read.
Oh, God damn it. It's so fucking funny. And like even the little stupid stuff like the Spider Pig was funny. I love the whole not one more
he's
contaminant.
Not Spider Pig, he's Harry Plopper now.
Yeah. No contaminant can hit the lake again. And what does Homer do? Just fucking rockets a silo full of trash in that motherfucker. And he says,
"That's a movie we need to do a watch along for." I've got that on DVD.
The fucking EPA kind of overstretching. We find out.
And I love how they do the bit of like Bart skateboarding through the whole town naked, and they do all the perfect hideaways for his junk, and then all of a sudden he gets to the bush thing, and it's like everything's hidden except his junk.
And I love it's one of the greatest lines in the Simpsons universe, though. It's this is the worst day of my life. It's the worst day of your life so far. Oh, God damn it. We know this stuff.
I know. It's such a good movie.
And like you could like, it's like the bad guy was the government.
Yep.
There was the dome around the town. There was the mob who went after fucking the Simpsons. It was fucking perfect.
It was.
And it was kind of like a comeuppance episode. Really, is just like, the Simpsons deserve all this damage.
Oh yeah, they've done enough bad shit. And I also love the fact that they were able to get away with a little bit more in that movie, because it's the first time you've seen Homer flip someone off.
Yeah,
it was when he's jumping into the sinkhole in the and he's like
stuck.
He's like double fisting it on the way down.
He's like turning, and he's stuck. Help! Help!
Help! God damn it! Help!
And they're stuck between a rock and a bar called the hard place.
Yes.
And like, there's so much going on in the show. We could talk about it for days on end.
But Futurama as well. But see, that's the thing.
Futurama, though, is a different class of show.
That's what I was going to say. So it feels like with The Simpsons, their number one priority was comedy. Second off with that, to elicit the comedy, you have to have a good story. And if by proxy through the good story, you've got some heart, all well, great, add it on in. It felt like with Futurama, story was first to reach heart, and if comedy happens in the process, so be it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, the great thing is that Simpsons has been just about a family. Futurama is tragedy-stricken people.
Yeah.
Each one of these people who work at the
Planet Express.
The Planet Express, all have terrible fucking backstories.
Yeah, and we see Fry's immediately. He's a pizza delivery guy on New Year's Eve '99.
Yeah, and
then gets fucking falls into a cryovac thing and gets transported another 100,000 years into the future or some shit.
Yeah, and like he meets his like fifth fucking ancestor or some shit, or
his like great grandfather. I mean, great grandson.
Yeah, Philip Farnsworth.
Yes. Good news, everyone.
You're all fired.
Which that in and of itself became a meme. That was one of the OG memes with Velociraptor, I forget what his actual name was, but it was all the ones with those rainbow backgrounds with just some random animal head on it.
Yeah.
Farnsworth was among those early memes. So it's like that just hooked so well. Intro scene every time he came in the room, good news everyone, and later on, bad news everyone.
Or the meme of I'm sad now.
Yeah. I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Yeah. But like, it's just the story of Fry. Like everything else is just icing on the cake. But essentially, this is the story of Fry, and it's goddamn heartbreaking.
It is.
I can't even every positive thing that happens to this boy is just destroyed 4 episodes later.
Oh yeah.
And when they're talking about like in the first season, all right, he meets Leela. She gets fired from her job. She works at Planet Express. He meets Bender, and basically it's just the introduction of the cast. The second episode, hey, they got to go make a trip. And it goes disastrously bad. And then the next episode, it's the fucking moon episode. Why the fuck would you play that soon? When he talks about his brother Yancey, and it's just like, this dude stole my 4-leaf clover out of my Breakfast Club album or some shit. Was it the Breakfast Club album?
I think so.
Yeah. God damn, why do I remember this shit?
It's been a while.
I can remember this shit, but I can't remember my pre-cal shit for nothing.
No.
I can tell you why Siam turned to Burma, but I can't tell you why X is 3.
Yeah, no, fuck that. But this is the real knowledge right here, baby.
But like, he stole his clover, his lucky clover, and that's what got Fry in trouble because he stole it the day before. And then you're like, oh, Yancey landed on the moon, and it's just like, he even took my fucking name. What a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not what happened. Yancey named his son after the brother who never came back. And you're just like, I remember watching that episode, even thinking about it, like some of the stuff, like it just rolls.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, Matt Groening, you piece of shit. Why the fuck do you make me care about this redheaded fuck?
The 2 episodes that, of course, get me is one, the classic one, the dog that just waited for Fry.
That one doesn't bother me as much.
That one didn't get you as much.
No, the Yancey one bothered me.
Well, the other
and
one,
the Bender one.
Well, the other one that bothered me was the very, very, very last episode where time stops.
You want to go do it again?
God, just literally that line just makes me choke up. I'm just like, God damn, yes.
That's the perfect ending.
It is. And that's what makes me nervous about the reboot. Or the continuation, or the new season, whatever they're calling it.
I just... You put the crown on it. That was it.
Yeah.
Not many shows we watch have a perfect ending.
And the reason it was such a good ending was because, again, exactly what you said, all this bullshit, his story is heartbreaking throughout this entire series. Time stops, and he finally gets what he wanted.
All the time with Leela.
Some time with Leela.
Yeah.
There's nothing else in the world going on. Everything else stopped. We don't have to worry about anything else. It's just us now. We can do what we wanted to do. And then the option of, well, let's do it again and not even know we're doing it again. It's just like, yes, you want to be in the perpetual cycle of all the bullshit mattered at some point. Yeah. You know, at some point it paid off. Yeah. And I don't know, just that whole episode, just, it's a great one.
That's the perfect ending.
Yeah.
Some of the other episodes...
I mean, even the flute, video flute episode, that was supposed to be the last one. Even that would have been great.
Yeah, and like he kind of gave away his hands to play that fucking thing for her.
Yeah.
And the other the Norwal episodes.
Oh,
those 2 episodes when you found out Fry had left a message for Leela, or she had left a message for him in time, and he had lost his hair, he lost his memory, and he ends up back with Leela again.
Yeah.
And dies.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. The one that gets me is they go to the place where you can see people's dreams.
Yeah.
And he goes and sees his mom's dream, and she is just done.
Yep.
Like, she's just like, I'm tearing up thinking about it. Like, it's fucking sad.
And that's why I said this show hinged more on storytelling first to get to heart. Yeah. And if comedy happens along the way, so be it. And I think that a reason why that show kind of sticks out more than the rest, because Groening has tried doing some other shows in that style, like Enchanted, I think. Or Enchantment, yeah. That didn't do so well. He's tried a few other little spinoffs, and none of them hit. And it has to do with those writing teams. You know, even the folks on the writing team for Futurama were a bunch of nerds. No. So it's like, you look at any of those like long form math things, those nerds have been sitting in there weeks figuring out that mathematical equation. And I can't remember what college it was, but like someone did a thesis on the mathematics of Futurama, and like, it was like one of those like moments where like it got in the paper being like, he got an A for this, all because he talked about this animated TV show that's wicked good with their science and their math.
And you know, where the pantheon of characters isn't even as big as fucking The Simpsons.
No.
And it's almost better. Like, I consider Futurama better than The Simpsons, even though in longevity, like Zap Brannigan.
Oh, God.
Do you know the story of what that was supposed to be?
No, I don't actually.
So Zap Brannigan was wrote for Phil Hartman.
Okay.
Matt Groening wanted Phil Hartman to be Zap Brannigan. Phil Hartman's wife killed him in real life.
Right.
Because of Andy Dick. But the whole story about why Andy Dick and John Lovitz just beating his fucking face in, I just sort of love to be there. Phil Hartman's wife had got back on drugs and killed Phil Hartman.
Right.
He's also in The Simpsons. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. Matt Groening had a whole thing about doing a Troy McClure movie.
Yeah.
A whole spinoff.
I remember that.
But that's who he wanted to be. That's who he wanted to be, Zach Brannigan. And they found a guy to replace him. It's fantastic. Zach Brannigan is him and what is his name? Kip.
Oh God, yes.
I could not take Kip Anthony serious for like a year because it's Kip. Hello. Yes, sir. And I'm just like, fucking die, Kip. And I'm just like, oh my God.
But then, what's her name? Jenny Chow or whatever.
Yeah. So you have the Planet Express crew.
Yes.
You have Fry, Leela, Bender. Bender has a side story. You have Zoidberg.
Yes.
Which Zoidberg is actually a personification of what a Jewish doctor is, which I fucking love because he's shellfish. He's literally a shellfish.
Yes.
Which is fucking hilarious, you know? And, you know, you have your other side characters like, you know, other than Leela and stuff like that. And I love the kind of breakdown of each one. Hey, what is Leela's backstory? Our parents abandoned her.
Yep.
So she could live a regular life. And it's like, God
because
damn.
they were sewer people. It was kind of the allegory for the lower class versus the upper class. We live below everyone else. We live in the sewers.
And I forget what musician they had play. Like, so there was an episode where they go back down in the sewer. They meet her parents.
Yeah.
And there's like a monster in the sewer that ends up getting eaten by the fucking little black dog pet or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a guy, he's a musician, he's got a guitar. Gather around, kids, let me tell you the story of El Chupacabra.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, a cool, like, Texas accent. And I'm just like, I could almost nail it. But I'm just like, God damn, that's fucking hilarious.
And all the songs Futurama would be great, too, because even in that flute episode, that was the one where you had the devil sing. There was like that musical of the devil. Yeah. Even all of those were really great. I can't think of a lot of musical episodes of The Simpsons.
So those were very early on Lisa-centric.
Yeah.
So Michael Jackson came on the show and did a character. It was a bald character, kind of a big guy. And he was friends with Lisa. And then there was Smoke something. He was a jazz player.
Smokey Brown or something like that.
Yeah, he became a ghost.
Yeah.
But that was one of the sadder episodes because it was Homer trying to get her saxophone back. And she gets it back. She plays this beautiful fucking song at the end. And it's an original score.
Yeah.
And like, I think in Matt Groening's case for the Fox at that time, it was kind of limited on what they could do. Because even the fucking, I think what was it, like one of the top 50 recognizable things is the song from The Simpsons.
The doom, 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 doom,
Or no, the beginning of the Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, you created something that's, and let's just go on this real quick. The Simpsons is a cultural touchstone.
Yeah.
It's a marker in time. The Futurama is just a continuation on that marker.
Yeah.
And as much as I love The Simpsons, you know, I still think Futurama's better.
Well, I think Futurama's better, and I think I might have a way to kind of discern why. Futurama, due to its setting, is timeless. The Simpsons, though they try to be timeless, works because it was a dysfunctional 90s family. It was a family that grew up and was living in the 90s, in a time in which things were a little weird, both politically and socially, and this weird counterculture show, The Simpsons, kind of worked because it was in the 90s and the early 2000s. I honestly think if they had pulled the South Park thing, what they were originally trying to do, and ended it with the movie, we might be saying they're just the same. But I think for the fact that exactly what you said earlier, The Simpsons have gone on for so long, and they're no longer that weird counterculture family of the 90s. They're just another animated family now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and, you know, going back to like each individual character, they're a family, but they're not a joined family. You know?
Futurama.
Yeah. And that kind of plays in a different aspect of a relationship, you know. The whole blood is thicker than water.
And in the weird way that Fry is older than Farnsworth.
Yeah. But so it's kind of like, you know, the whole saying, the blood is thicker than water?
Yeah.
So like that is, people take it out of context because there's the second half where it's basically saying, yeah, he's your family, but you also have a blood of the covenant with your friend.
Right.
Those two shows are exactly the personification of that phrase.
Yep.
That's a family. That's your family. At the end of the day, that's still your fucking family. No matter what stupid shit happens, how terrible they are, that's still your family. Mm-hmm. These are your friends till the end.
Yeah.
Period. No matter what happens, they're still your... Like, one of my favorite episodes is when we see... it was when we find out why Fry got stuck.
Yeah.
And we the little animal creature is part of a giant sentient race. They're like, look, your brain's not affected, so you're gonna have to be the savior, and we're gonna have to put you on the scoot. And it's just like, oh my god, like even like so little, it's like the little stuff added up.
Yeah.
And then you go back and watch it, and it's just like they planned that in a really fucked up way, because there is a drawn shadow of that fucking I can't remember his name for shit.
I know what you mean though.
But the little black teacher who shits out antimatter.
Yeah.
Eats like a whole planet. Yeah. And
that even creates like one of those funny digital gags, or not digital, little scene gags where they're like, he's like, he filled up his litter. Bender's like, he took a shit in the litter box again, and Fry's like, I've got it. And you see him just grab the scoop. He looks like, ding, dang, and he's just like walking it over with like. But again, it's the funny visual of it was a plastic scoop. Mm-hmm. Yet the plastic scoop wasn't bending, but he was just having a hell of a time getting it up.
Yeah, and like even some of the people that got to play characters on this, you got Billy West,
Shut up, baby, I know it.
Yeah, John DiMaggio, Katie Seagal, and like a lot of people. Phil Lamar, who played Samurai Jack, him was in Mad TV and did this and did this and did this, and it's like, how did you pull these people?
Because it was such good writing.
Yeah, and like David Herman, someone who's been in fucking King of the Hill almost every fucking season, another Mad TV alum. And I think that a lot of that is kind of the close-knit thing that is Fox. Because we talk about that on some other stuff. Hey, why does this character from Game of Thrones keep showing up in this show? Oh, it's because it's the same fucking studio. Lot.
Oh, they all are from A&E. Oh, they're all from Disney.
All the HBO people are in Star shows. It's like, why is that? Because it's the same goddamn lot.
Netflix does the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same fucking lot. And the cool thing about Futurama is, even with that ending, kind of like a crescendo on the whole thing, there's so much rewatchability.
There is.
In that The Simpsons, if I go back and rewatch it, I'm not watching it for the plot. I'm watching it for the shot for shot take what they're doing. So there's an episode, going to Simpsons real quick, there's an episode where they need to flee Australia because Bart accidentally brought like a frog or some shit and it ruined the thing of Australia, the ecosystem.
Yes.
Well, if you see it, they're on a helicopter on top of the embassy and they're trying to fly away, but there's a bunch of people like trying to get on a helicopter. Do you know what that mimics?
No.
It's the last shot of the fall of the American embassy in Vietnam.
Okay.
In 1973. All these people are trying to get the fuck out of Vietnam because the fucking communists are coming. And it's a shot for shot. I'm just like, you guys do this so many fucking times. Like the shot for shot of Donald Trump coming down the escalator. The shot for shot of Iwo Jima. Of like the signing of the Ho Chi Minh. I'm just like, the artists are assholes, but like it's so good that you're able to compare those two things and do a shot for shot remake. And there's like a whole website you can look up where it's like, why does it look like this? It's because they're mimicking the shot from this, from this and this historical photos, and they're just mimicking. And I'm just like, that's fucking solid writing. To be able to like build it up to like, hey, let's make it look like the assassination of this guy.
Now, can we think of any controversies that have surrounded Futurama?
Actually, there was a controversy surrounding John DiMaggio.
Okay.
John DiMaggio figured out a way so no one could do Fry's voice. So we had talked about copyright of a person. He copyrighted his voice. You can't use his voice anywhere else unless it's licensed out.
Damn.
He's the only one to do that. All the other studios now have provisions and contracts and shit. Even fucking the guy that does Bender and shit. I'm just like, how? How is he the only guy to think of this? Phil Lamar, one of the greatest voice actors. Clancy Brown, all these guys. Nope. Use my voice for red the fuck. I don't care.
Yeah.
No one, they can't do it without him. They talked about the other guy so much. The guy that does Bender. Yeah. It's just like, You're not going to be able to do it without Fry either, motherfucker.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because now I can think of another controversy the Simpsons were a part of that got a whole documentary made of it. The Problem with Apu.
Yes. That's a dumb documentary.
Very dumb. Very, very dumb.
He paints it like they try to go around it a little bit when someone's trying to explain to him about Apu. At no point did anyone have anything negative to say about Apu because he doesn't do any negative shit.
No, there was a YouTuber by the name of Brain Drain, or Brain Dump, that's what it was, that did like an hour-long thing just picking this documentary apart and just being like, what? You want to say that Apu is a bad representation of Indian culture? He's got a wife. He's got a successful business. He's got money. He's one of the good characters in this show.
Even that's just like, counterpoints. People forget. He explains his culture very well in like 3 episodes. He gets married in the back of Homer Simpson's yard because Homer's his best customer and his friend. This is what I hate about people who break down fucking shows.
Like what we do?
But no, like break down it in a negative way. They're looking for something just to take away. It's like the people who talk about when Timmy first appeared on South Park. Oh, they're making fun of this, retarded kid in a wheelchair. No, they're not. They don't say anything negative about that kid in a wheelchair. In fact, they don't acknowledge his disability at all. And how dare you try to culture shock your way through some white guilt? I hate that shit, man. There's so many shows you could go after that depict people in a negative light, but you chose a fucking cartoon? Like, at the end of the day, it's still a fucking cartoon. And, we got older generation like my dad. He's like, I'm not going to watch that. It's a fucking cartoon. Okay, that's fine. Because they still see it as cartoons. Guess what? 3 generations before him? Oh, shit, it's a cartoon that's on the fucking theater. Let's go see it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like,
they used to show cartoons before regular features. You could watch a Tom and Jerry short before Psycho.
It's so fucking stupid. It's so fucking stupid. And it's going to be done. It's going to keep being done. And I don't want to be the guy who's like, fuck wokeness. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. You're going after certain aspects of something that's not real.
Well, so their main aspect of it, though, that caused annoyance wasn't even that it was, a stereotype of Indian culture. It was that it was an Indian voice played by a white guy. That was the big crux of it all.
And at the time, that's what they had.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, this is a 30-year plus show. That's just what they had. Nowadays, you got everybody. Everybody. You want a crippled person to play a crippled person? You can do that. Right? And it's still going on. I acknowledge that. There are white people playing Hispanic people all the time. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
They're making a movie about Castro. Guess who's playing Castro?
Who?
James Franco.
What?
You know who can play him? You know who can play Castro? The guy that played the Mandalorian.
Shit, yeah.
Fedora Pedro. The guy who actually is fucking Spanish.
Yeah. Pedro Pascal, yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? Why not? Now, because there's representation now. Mm-hmm. We just watched a movie called Prey.
Mm-hmm.
They're all fucking Native American. There's not like a Frenchman out there believing like, yes, I am Native American. No, fuck no. There's representation. There's plenty of it. I could get it. You could bitch about the old ways. And there are some racist shit in the older movies. Breakfast at Tiffany's, one of the most hallmark fucking movies of all time, has a white guy with buck teeth and thick glasses playing an Asian man. That's racist as shit.
Yep.
But a cartoon? A fucking cartoon. No one's going to know the difference between an Indian voice actor and an American voice actor if the accent is hit.
Mm-hmm.
How many British actors try to do an American accent?
Yeah. Hell, we got Tom Holland.
Fuck them. Fuck them. Nah, man. Spider-Man.
Benedict Cumbersnatch.
My Doctor Strange is from Boston. All right. My Captain America is from Brooklyn. All right.
I was going to say, I think Chris Evans is American.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, all these British actors can do American accents.
Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston is from Britain. Nah, that's Norse mythology, man. He needs to be 6'5" and blonde like the Thor. And why is Thor Australia? Why isn't he Swedish? Why isn't he fucking Finnish? Why isn't he fucking Scandinavian? You picking and choosing.
Yeah.
They're just picking and choosing these fucking nitpick bullshit. And I fucking hate it. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but the guy who made that is a shitty comedian.
Mm-hmm.
And even a shittier critic.
Yeah. Because again, even just that one YouTube guy that just broke it down was just like, in so many ways, you really don't know what you're talking about, my dude. Like, Apu makes the show better.
And they got rid of him.
Yep.
What did you accomplish?
Got rid of a character of a show that barely anyone watches anymore.
But like, what did you accomplish? You think they're going to do it with the rest of the? You think Hollywood's going to do it with the rest of their fucking shows?
Fuck no.
This fucking grab bag of animated series they're going to keep doing? No. He didn't even acknowledge the fact that Bollywood is on the increase in the United States in representation. No, he didn't even acknowledge that. But not this. This is right here. This is his rock to die on.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, on that rock, I'm going to build my fucking church. All right, so get fucked.
Put $1 in the box.
And I'm just like, you put a guy out of work.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You put a man out of work. I hope you feel good, you piece of shit. I hope they replace him with another white guy. I really fucking do.
I think they did. I think they found a voice alike that like does a lot of YouTube stuff that is an Indian and everything.
They should have hired him, and then all the people
They did. That's what I was saying.
They should have got the guy who made the fucking documentary do the voice. Do it. I want to watch you fucking do it. Cry, you piece of shit, and hit him every time he fucks it up. This is what real fucking work looks like. Because voice acting it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
Because you have to inflect to an imaginary fucking screen.
Mm-hmm. Over and over and
over. I know I'm going to rant
long
about this, but I'm just like, I fucking hated that.
The Chris Rant podcast is coming. Don't worry.
Hank Azaria is a small Jewish man.
Yeah.
He does Homer Simpson, who's at least 6'2". Do you think I give a fuck?
Mark Hamill did the Joker.
Is Mark Hamill a psychotic maniac? No, he's cock knocker. Right. You know what I'm saying? Does Jason Mewes just smoke weed? No. Okay.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So let's kind of like bring it back on who we pick and choose. Now, if you got a character who's a black person and needs to be played by a black character, yeah, I understand that. Maybe don't let Charlize Theron play her in the fucking movie. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can understand that aspect of it. But it's a voice actor. I don't give a shit. As long as they can do an accent, we hire them for that.
God, don't let them find out that Bart is actually voiced by a girl.
Right.
And that most young boys in cartoons are voiced by girls.
Bobby Hill is voiced by a famous actress from Californication.
Yep.
It's so fucking funny.
Yeah, it's like all that should matter is the talent. And the thing is exactly what you said. Now we have more representation with talent, so we get to see it more. But back in the early and mid 90s when they're just making this weird counterculture show that just randomly became a hit. No, exactly what you said. There's so many alumni from like Mad TV and, you know, Conan and all that shit that it's just like they were just pulling from the talent they had. It would be like if the two of us decided to make a cartoon. Guess what? We'd be reaching out to Mikey to do some weird voice. We'd be reaching out to Quinn. We'd be reaching out to Cap. It's like, we'd want cool representation maybe on the show. And it's like, but you know, we would be having to reach to people that we know. And if they can just fill the part, they fill the part.
And like another part of this, which I think is kind of like on a fucked up end, is at no point
we should make a cartoon.
Yeah. At no point does he acknowledge that other people are being represented more in a show like The Simpsons in the early days. We see a gay couple in The Simpsons long before Ellen DeGeneres came the fuck out.
Yeah.
We kind of satirize, you know, convenience store robbery as a thing. But guess what? The robber still likes Apu. He never kills him.
Yeah.
The fuck?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And also, it kind of falls under the Dr. Huxtable thing. The primary black guy in the show is a doctor.
Yeah. He didn't say anything about that, did he?
No.
Family Guy. Talk about inclusion. There's so much new shit in that show that pops up, and no one acknowledges it.
Yeah.
Futurama the same way. Because the great thing about Futurama, they take the Star Trek stance.
Yep.
We're solving the far in the future. Bigotry ain't fucking real.
Yeah. Everyone is asexual. Everyone's attracted to one another, and it's just all hack goodness.
You want to hear the story why Sir Patrick Stewart is bald in Star Trek?
Why?
Because he said, in the future, no one gives a shit if you're fucking bald. Because it's the future.
Yeah.
No one gives a fuck. And I'm Sir Patrick goddamn Stewart. I was in Dune, you piece of shit.
And then he shows up and does voice acting on Family Guy.
Yeah.
And a little cameo.
Yeah, and he does a very big American Dad. He's the boss.
Yeah, he's the boss on that.
The direct Bullock.
But for some reason, that made me think of the episode where Stewie uses his like time machine or whatever to like transport the crew of Star Trek from like a Comic-Con, and they're like, and everyone is just bitching.
Oh, he kidnaps like Will Wheaton and all them from Star Trek.
Yeah, and it's just like, but I wanted... and they get them all in the cars. It's like, I'm hungry. Fine, I'll take you to McDonald's. He's like, I want the 6-piece. You'll get what I order you. Oh, no, he's crying.
Yeah, but like, even some of the other characters, we get satirization of the Italian mob. We get a satirization of...
Comic book guy.
Yeah, the comic book guy. The biggest piece of shit gatekeeper of all time.
Worst comic ever.
Dude, I remember having Simpson comics, but I remember having the Radioactive Man comics. I had a lot of those. I'd get that right next to like a Spider-Man or something like that growing up. And man, I wish I still had them because there's probably the stupidest fucking humors in them. Oh, yeah. But like they created a subgenre in their own fucking series. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't talk about how they're the first animated show to kind of use computer graphics in a transition.
Yep.
You know, that they don't... And the guy kind of just misses the fucking whole target when just condemning one thing that's not even worth condemning.
Yeah.
Now it makes me I really want to hurt him.
Easy now, Chris.
That's when I become a monster. Get my bandana, son.
Oh shit, bandana Chris is coming.
I saw that post today. I saw the picture.
Yes,
like, not a great picture, but okay.
Hey, it works. Hey, that is bandana Chris though. You're giving us some sass. You're like,
If I could ask bandana Chris, I don't know what he'd say.
But no, man. I don't think there's going to be any other show that really stacks up to, I don't know, I'd say the holy trinity of Futurama, South Park, and Simpsons. I think those are the three pillars of like absolute best adult animation. And the only reason I don't include King of the Hill on that is there's not as much comedy in King of the Hill.
King of the Hill is an irreverent sitcom.
Yes. So I almost don't kind of put it in the same category as a Simpsons or a Futurama or something like that.
Everything that happens in King of the Hill is plausible.
Yeah. It's more grounded, of like a real drama, just animated.
It's grounded in reality. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's what I liked about King of the Hill.
So to me, that's still in a tier above the rest of them, a league on its own.
Animated series breakdown.
Shit, man.
SABCD. Ooh, King of the Hill's at the top.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's like right next to those super close ties are those three shows, in my opinion: Simpsons, Futurama, and
another show. Like because of the Simpsons, you know,
South Park.
Because of the Simpsons and the way what they were able to do, it opened the floodgates for animated shows. It's like not all animated show has to be about kids, not all of them. And what's funny is we get a little bit of that in some animated shows, like the Rugrats, that had adult humor in there, and that's dark.
Oh yeah,
the
big
dark
time.
humor.
We talked about that on the Nickelodeon app.
Stu, what are you doing? Contemplating my life. That's just like,
or the 90s cartoon that we should say, yeah.
Yeah, that's just like, oh God, like what the fuck is wrong with you, man? He's like, oh hey, Uncle Stu, where's the horse? What are you talking about? Dad said you had a horse. We don't have a horse. Yeah, because Dad said you're a one-trick pony. And I'm just like, I went back and watched that. I'm just like, Stu should have curb stomped that motherfucker. His brother-in-law, he should have killed that motherfucker. He should have killed that motherfucker out the gate.
Well, I think we brought it up mainly with Futurama, but it's kind of a little bit of wrap up on this. What's your favorite episode of The Simpsons?
Of The Simpsons?
Yeah.
The Bart stealing the video game.
Oh, okay.
I can remember that like the back of my fucking hand.
Really?
It's a fucked up it's a fucked up scene at the end.
Yeah, because you were saying that really stuck with you.
Yeah, it's just like you were called one thing, and it's the whole I thought you were better.
Yeah,
and then Marge is the one who actually got to get physical with him, and he had got her a gift, and that's what it was.
Yeah,
and it kind of brings the whole thing down.
Yeah,
to a personal level, because once you're marked as something, like I will say this, if somebody marks you as a thief, that is something hard to get rid of. If someone ever called me that, I'd beat the shit out of them.
Oh yeah.
Then they can call me a murderer. You can call me a murderer, I don't give a fucking thief though. Yeah, you better earn that shit.
Honestly, probably my favorite Simpsons episode, and it's the one I've actually watched pretty recently, and I just didn't realize how many golden moments were in it. And it's the story of Homer talking about the birth and growth of each of his kids. And it's that compilation of like, every time he sees that Marge is pregnant, he starts screaming and ripping out his hair and goes running up the stairs and slams the door. But it's like, that scene was in it. The scene of Bart coming up behind Homer and whacking him with the stool was in there. It's like, there are so many. I think that was even the same episode. The cops were like trying to look in through the window, and he like sees him. He's like, ha, 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 and like slips and falls, busts his ass, and rips down the towel rack at the same time. Like, there were so many like golden moments in that episode.
What about Futurama?
But it all still kind of wrapped up in that sweet way where he was like, but I wouldn't change it all for the world, because he was getting annoyed with Bart. He loved Lisa, but like it was still getting to become that stressful thing because Lisa was being the bratty little kid, and of course Bart antagonizing things. Yeah. But then when Maggie came along, you saw that they animated like this little visual switch in Homer. He's just like, oh, it's my little girl. And like when it clipped back to it, and he was like, and that was the story of when Maggie was born, and I've been happy like with all this.
Before Maggie was born, he was going to quit his job.
Yeah.
And go work at the bowling alley. His dream job.
Yep.
That was it. Now go to the Futurama. What was your favorite Futurama episode? I know it's hard because there's so many fucking gems.
I know. Honestly, I really like the one where Bender's having to look for the new apartment with Fry. That's a pretty good one.
What about when when Fry realizes that Bender lives in an apartment?
Yeah, and he's like, oh, well, see, that's one of the reasons why I like that one is like, he's like, he has to stay with Bender, and he's like, Bender's like, oh yeah, here's my place, doot, doot, doot. And it opens up and it's like this closet, and he's like, really? You sleep? He's like, yeah, I'm a robot. I don't need anything. I just come in here, shut down, and as soon as I'm ready, I just leave. I don't care about TV or any of this.
And then they open, he's like, oh,
yeah, and at the very end of the episode, he's like, oh yeah, my closet. And it's like this lavish fucking place. Yes, and he's like, what the fuck? That's a great one. But honestly, I think some of my favorites have to be those heart-wrenching episodes, like the dog one or that final episode. Like, some of those are just really damn good. And there was one of the movies that I remember thinking that was pretty top tier.
They ended up breaking those into episodes, like the Beast with $1,000,000 backs or something, with 100 backs or some shit.
There was one of those movies though, because Netflix didn't have the series, but they had the movies put together on there. And I remember watching one of those thinking that it was really good. And honestly though, I think anything that was heavy with Zoidberg was like some of my favorite episodes, because Zoidberg was just so good.
Yeah. My favorite is when you realize how Bender was still Bender, like where he was being inspected by old boy.
Yeah, and he's got to get the different parts.
Well, like he was certified good by what's his name that worked in the shipping or worked in Planet Express.
Yeah,
and you find out that he was an inspector back in the day, and instead of incinerating Bender, he gave him a grade A.
Yep.
Get out there. And it's just like, that is a fucked up connection. And it goes right up there with the Moon episode. And it's just like, the first season has like my favorite episode in it. It's the Moon episode.
Yeah.
Where you find out that, hey, like it's a 7-leaf clover. And I love that, as you know, he's reminiscent about, you know, his nephew.
Yeah.
And just the brevity of Bender's like, I got it. And he dug a grave. Yeah. He's like, I got it. Oh yeah. Click, and he takes the ring too.
Yes.
Just like, you robbed the grave of this dude's nephew. And I'm just like, that seals the fucking deal, because they're just like, the moon landing's not real. Because they're like, it's the future. They would say,
and I can't remember which episode it was, but it was another Bender heavy episode. It was, they were like, hey, we need someone to, like, you know, bend these pipes or whatever. He's like, back out the way, baby. I got this, you know. Bends everything. He's like, ta-da. Like, they're like, oh my God, yeah. And then they go through a few more things. It's like, oh my God, we need this straightened out. And they like, how look at him. He's like, don't look at me. I can't straighten things out. I can only bend things. Yeah. And you're like, what? You can, but if you're strong enough to bend it, you should be. He's like, no, watch.
And his arms fall off.
And he's like, I can't do it. And then like, he puts his arms back on. He's like, but, and then like turns it into like a fucking twisty knot. And he's like, I can still do this. And they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he's a bending robot. Not a straightening robot.
He can't straighten things out.
I love the thugs Because it's the same it's the same voice actors from The Simpsons, the Mafia, the Savior of the Robot Thugs. Let's give them the clamp. Let me clamp them, boss.
But yeah, so we've still got new episodes of Simpsons that we just don't watch, but they've been threatening us with a reboot, a continuation of Futurama, even though they gave us, like you said, the perfect ending, and even the perfect ending for binge watching. Because even if you were to just pick it up mid-season and get to that episode, then go back to season 1, episode 1, it works.
Yeah.
Like they really set up a perfect time loop through that series, so they better have something really fucking good up their sleeves to justify bringing it back.
I don't know, man. It's like Matt Groening and all them, and even Mike Judge. You know,
hey, Mike Judge did good with Beavis and Butthead Go to Space.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they created the perfect series, and if it was a stop, that's fine.
Yeah,
like the last episode of King of the Hill, the real last episode
with the grill. Yep.
Fucking perfect.
Absolutely.
I could really give a shit, honestly. I'm a fan of if they did it like a continuation.
Oh, and as a fun little pin at the end of this episode, since you brought up King of the Hill and moments that kind of make you, and everything. Of course, that final episode, King of the Hill, where Hank, of course, finally really connects with Bobby on that real father-son level, and you're just like, yes, they got there. It's been confirmed that there was a deleted scene out of that montage because you see everyone except Bill. Bill had a scene in there where he had a box of Lenore's old stuff, and you see him put it in the trash. And it was supposed to be just that thing of like, Bill's finally moved on and maybe he can start improving himself also. Which would have been nice, because we also came to the conclusion that in those later seasons, Bill was a horrible character.
Yeah, Bill's not a great guy.
No, but it's
Other than showing Bobby some stuff, yeah, he's not really a great guy.
No, so it's like that would have actually been at least a nice little pin on his character, seeing him finally getting over Lenore. Oh, that's what it was, the cake in the freezer. He saw some cake in the freezer, saw it, and just tossed it in the trash. It was just like, nope, it's done.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's kind of what we get at. Even with South Park, they've got the nice little heartfelt moments. So we like our shows with a little comedy, but with a little heart as well. But for this episode of the Couch Potatoes, I've been Alex, and Chris. Do you have any sort of final thoughts on Futurama or The Simpsons?
If they go all out and decide to do Futurama again, open with a gut wrencher, just to remind them what the fuck they're watching. I want new people to see.
You asked for this, motherfuckers.
This is what you're getting. Show me how Farnsworth does it. Why he doesn't have kids or some shit.
Oh,
like his wife and kids are dead. Hello, everyone. I don't want to live on this planet anymore.